Welcome back into the weekend sports kickoff. I'm Devin Albertson, joined by Max Moore, Ryan Elliott, and Trevor Mater. It's time to talk about some other Bearcat sports. We'll start with the news that happened earlier this week as the soccer coach, Hoza, she resigned. So we have a new soccer coach soon. We'll have a search for that. Starting immediately. So what do you guys just think of her resigning? She's been at Northwest since 2003.
Well, if we take a look at Tracy Hoza, she's been here since 2003. You know, it was some rough times early.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she had, some rough years here at Northwest. You look at the early seasons, 5-8-4 in 2005, some poor seasons before that, and I think she's built this program up from basically the bottom, and it just kind of ended up plateauing. And you know, at some point you just have to choose to go a different direction.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, her final overall record was 96, 150, and 31 at Northwest. Home record of 52, 62, and 16. Sorry. She's only the second coach in Bearcat history. Joanne Wolf from 99 to 02. For first 4 seasons was the coach, and then Hoza took over for the last 15 seasons at Northwest. So just struggle here for the women's program. Never really got to where they really thought they should be. There's been some discussion the last few years whether the program should be better than what they are. But they had some young talent, so the coach coming in is going to get a decent situation with some young talent here, especially with Izzy Romano, I think her name is. She's a really good soccer player, too. She's only a sophomore this year, so she'll be a junior next year. She was the MIAA freshman of the year last year. So there's some talent on this roster, so we'll see how they go forward.
Yeah, they have a lot of young talent, and something that I've noticed, sometimes you just, with given the records, you obviously need to change, and I think we kind of saw that, and maybe it was one of those things where it was like, hey, if for the next couple of years you don't see anything if we don't see anything happening, then we're going to have to try and change something, and then maybe just kind of saw the writing on the wall there. But kudos to her. She did a great job, and starting kind of taking the program when it was only 3 years old. I can only imagine having to start with a program that's only 3 years old, and you don't even have a senior class in theory.
Yeah. When
you have coming into, I guess, to that 4th season, but and you have one senior class graduate, and you take over, and it takes time to build up. And there were points where they had good seasons, and where they were above 500, and they competed in the conference tournament, but then things started kind of tailing off, and they're still trying to find that magic that they had a couple, however many years ago.
The last winning season was 2012, and they went 8-7-3.
Right, and so they've had some success in the past, and so they're trying to find that again, but they couldn't quite do it. And so I think she realized, well, maybe my time here is done, and that she's going to move on. And sometimes maybe a change of scenery always works best for some people. I know some of the girls are sad she's gone, but I think a change is going to be good for not only, I think, Tracy, but I think good for the program in general. I think there's going to be a lot of good things coming for this team.
The best the soccer team finished under Hoza was 2011. They finished 10-7-2 in the regular season, 6-3 in MIAA play, finished 4th in the conference, and ended up losing to Central Missouri in the second round of the tournament there. So just a solid. They were solid there for 11 and 12. They both above 500, 4th and 5th in the conference, and just haven't been able to get up there since. So we'll see what happens in 2018. But I didn't get to watch the soccer team as much as I really wanted to because of the times they played, whether covering high school sports or stuff that came up on Sunday. It was hard to follow them closely and actually go to their games. And I'm really not a soccer person anyways, so it's not really my cup of tea, but I always like to see all the programs in Northwest succeed there and get to the level they want to be, where they can possibly compete for conference titles, if not just be in the running and make the conference tournament every year. And they were close this year. They were a double overtime game away from making it. Whenever the Emporia got in the last minute of the game there, they scored a goal and made the tournament over Northwest by 1 point in the standings. So it's not like they weren't far off making the tournament this year, just couldn't quite do it. So,
and I think that attributes to the talent that they have on this squad. Is they're just 1 point away from being there, and maybe just a different coaching change could help boost that team from the 8 and 9 spot to the, maybe a top 5 spot and getting close to there. And I've saw flashes against Missouri Western and Central Missouri where they kept possession quite well. They were able to get into the attacking third and get some shots either on net or just shots in general, creating some sort of opportunity. But they weren't able to quite capitalize, and then sometimes the back line just on the counterattack would falter just because they had so many people up and they were making the most of their opportunities, but they couldn't quite put it in the back of the net. So they have the talent, certainly. They have the ability, and so it'll be interesting to see where it goes again from here.
Okay, next what we're going to is volleyball. They have their last 2 home games coming up tonight and then tomorrow. They're at Bearcat Arena, their last 2 games regular season before they go to the MIAA tournament, which they clinched a spot in last Friday with their win over Southwest Baptist. They beat Southern on Saturday in a 5-set matchup down in Joplin. They play Kearney tonight, who's the best team in the MIAA, so it'll be a tough game. We'll have Sean Eno and Jacob Blair on the call for us for X106 at 6 p.m., and then Fort Hayes on Saturday at 3. And is Sean ready to talk to us? Is Sean over there?
I think he is.
Do we have Sean? Sean, talk to your mic to make sure I have the right mic for you.
Well, do we have the right mic?
Yes, I do.
Yeah,
Oh, good. Is it too loud? Okay.
No, we're good. We're good.
There's Sean. So you're calling the volleyball game tonight. What do you expect there versus Kearney?
Honestly, it's going to be a very hard fought match if Northwest is able to come out again. Nebraska Kearney has only lost 2 games the entire season. In the last match, Northwest did take a set and they lost 3-1 when they were in Kearney. But this is the number 5 team in the country and the number 3 team in the central region. So it's going to be hard to be able to take this game. But if they can, then that will help for the MIAA standings.
Yeah, because right now Northwest, they are sitting at 5th in the conference standings, 10-6 overall. They're 2 games behind Central Missouri, so a loss would put them in jeopardy of falling to Lindenwood's range. They're 10-7 right now, so a half game over Lindenwood for that 5 spot in the rankings. So Bearcats still playing for seeding so far in the MIAA tournament and try to get a matchup there early on, because Lindenwood's last game is against Missouri Southern in the year. So
yeah, do they take top 8?
Yes,
top 8.
So they're in.
They're already in, but I'm just talking about where favorable matchups come in. So it looks like if they were to win out, they could go at Central Missouri and play a Central Missouri team they've beaten before. And their goal has always been, I've talked with a lot of the seniors, Sarah Danatel and Darcy Sunderman. I know them really well. Their goal has always been top 4 in the conference, and so they have the opportunity to do that. They're right on the bubble right there between, I guess, the regular season standings. But having another matchup against Central Missouri, and if they were to knock off Nebraska Kearney, let's just say they sweep the weekend, it would be very good momentum going into the postseason tournament where they can go against Central Missouri. They win that matchup. They can play
Kearney again.
They could play Kearney again, Missouri Western, Central Oklahoma. I'm not sure where the bracket goes, not just because I don't have it in front of me, or a bracket in front of me, but it would be interesting to see because I think all 4 of those teams ahead of them are beatable.
Yes.
I think they have an opportunity to do so. And last year we saw them start off hot and finish cold. Maybe this is the year where they start off quote-unquote cold, and I say that quote-unquote because they faced a tough schedule. I think this is an opportunity for them to go into the postseason tournament and make some noise and be kind of the team under the radar that nobody saw coming because they played a tough schedule and they finally found the pieces and finally found the lineups, the systems to work well for them, and especially in playoff time. So it's going to be exciting to see that, and I hope Sean has a good call. I think he's going to be excited. I think he's excited over there for that. Are you, Sean?
We'll see. I
Smile, Sean.
Right now I'm just trying to get the energy level back up. I just produced the women's game. So, just staring at a screen for upwards of 3 hours. I got to get it back going, but I'm sure the show will somehow find a way to get my energy back up.
Oh, we'll liven it up for you, Sean. So, of course, that game starts at 6 o'clock tonight, 5:45-ish for the pregame show with Sean and Jacob Blair on that one. And of course, Sean just said the women's game, they fell in their season opener to Ouachita Baptist as they fell 68-54. Northwest led in scoring by freshman Mallory McConkey. She actually went to South Nottoway High School, just 20 minutes from Maryville. Actually, McAndrews was the leading scorer with 13 points. McConkie had 11. 10 points and 11 rebounds from Tanya Meyer. Jalen Haggard, a freshman from Central High School down in St. Joe, same high school as our X106 analyst Evan Brown. She had 9 points. 5 points for Aubrey Benson, 4 for Kylie Coleman, another freshman, and Stillman, a freshman from Benton High School, had 2 points. So they started 4 freshmen and Tanya Meyer today. So really young squad this year for the Bearcats, as they weren't trying to go for more of a youth movement and just couldn't quite pull it out. They had a lead early, 19-6, and just couldn't hold on to it. Kind of faltered after that.
And I think that's going to be something that Buck Shield is going to understand, that as frustrating as it probably is for him, he's probably going to have to realize that having such a young team and a lot of transfers, they still have some age. They still have some age on their team. It's just when you have so many young pieces to that puzzle, having those big leads, they probably thought, oh wow, we're leading in my first ever college basketball game. This is exciting. This is awesome. And all of a sudden you start losing. You go, oh, we're losing in my first college basketball game. Uh-oh, what the heck's going on? And so it'll be, I think Buck knows that, and I think he's going to be prepared to handle that however he may handle that. Hopefully in a good way.
It'll be teachable moment. They did have 17 turnovers, which is a big point they had last year. Was an issue with turnovers. So 17 turnovers, and you shoot, 29% from the field, 24% from the three-point line. You're going to struggle a bit to score. So, 8 for 33 from the three-point line. They're not going to shoot that bad most of the year there. And usually Tanya Meyer is a pretty good shooter. She struggled a bit from the field today, as she went 4 of 13, 1 of 5 from 3. You don't expect her to shoot that poorly going forward. So I think the Bearcats will be fine. They have a tough game Saturday versus Henderson State they'll have to deal with. So they have not a whole lot of time. They got to bounce back coming into tomorrow.
Well, and I think one thing I noticed from last year with this team is they tried relying too heavily on their star players. They tried relying too heavily on just getting the ball down to Tanya and just saying, okay, score some buckets, get us some rebounds. Aubrey, take it from the high post, or take it from the top of the key and just score points. And so, or kicking out to Jasmine for a couple 3-pointers from down under, if you will. She's Australian. Sorry.
Yeah,
I guess nobody else picked up on that.
I got it.
Thanks,
No,
guys.
I got
Thanks,
it.
guys.
I smiled.
We
got
smiled,
it.
but
I smirked.
we're on radio and
We're on TV too.
well, the camera's going to be on me if we're on TV. Okay, there we go.
Also, nobody's going to be kicking it out to Jasmine because she graduated last year.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
Last year.
Okay. See, I missed all of that.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Their first home game will be next Wednesday versus Peru State at 7 p.m. That'll be the tip-off there. Myself and Trevor will be on the call for X106 in that game for the home opener for the Lady Bearcats. They'll have a home game the next Monday versus Maryville University. So they have we'll be able to see the Bearcats in person here soon. They're down in Bolivar for the next couple of days. They got a noon game tomorrow versus Henderson State down on the campus of Southwest Baptist. So as we have for the women's basketball team, now the men's basketball team up 81-62 right now over Upper Iowa. Pitts went out for a little bit, then he came back in the game because he got to a 12-point game, and now it's back up to a reasonable point.
Justin Pitts came off the floor?
Yeah, he came off the floor.
Wow.
They were up by 20, and then it was
never happens.
And then it was 8-0 run by Upper Iowa, and they're like, yeah, Pitt's back in the game.
This is a dude that's averaging like 38 minutes a game in his career.
Well, he's played 35. He's done that for like a minute or two, and then he lost to like 8 points.
He's an old man now. Once you get to your senior year, you're an old man, you know? Yeah. You got to preserve your energy for... I don't know what he's preserving his energy for, but...
Well, he's off the court again now as they put some freshmen in. As they have a comfortable lead, 81-62. Pitts finishes with 30 points and 2 assists and only 19 shots, 4 of 8 from the three-point line, 20 points from Chris Ibu-Endow, including 5 of 7 from the three-point line, and 13 points from Brett Doherty. Those 3 guys all in double figures today for the Bearcats. Is only about 2 minutes left to go in the game. They're going to roll to a win over Upper Iowa, who was a playoff team last year. So another good win for the season, for the year for the Bearcats to start the season. Just kind of going forward, Pitts is still Justin Pitts.
Yeah,
So,
well, and Pitts actually had 35 minutes, so not too far off from his 38-minute average. So, yeah, I don't know. I just felt like...
So the Bearcats going to improve to 1-0 on the year. So congratulations to the Bearcats. Their first home game is next Friday versus Metro State out of Denver. So... What? What's so funny? What's so funny?
Nothing. Don't worry about it.
I don't know what Caleb's laughing at me for, but
Our radio listeners are going to be really confused.
next Friday, 7 p.m., Metro State. here in Maryville, Bearcat Arena. We'll have that, and then they'll play Saturday versus Truman State at 3
That'd be a
p.m.
good one.
So
Metro State. They're out in
State.
Colorado, aren't they?
Yep.
Yeah,
Denver?
Metro's good. Metro's a good basketball team.
It was a good game last year out in Colorado. Northwest
Northern
won.
State on Sunday. Did you say that?
Yep. Northern State this Sunday down in St. Joe. I might go down to that game, so you'll see the Bearcats in person. Only
I thought
a
about
short
going
trip.
down to that game, but after what's happened today with our Bearcat Radio Network broadcast, there's no chance. I got to stay up here.
So that's what we have there. The Bearcats win it 89-65 over Upper Iowa. We're going to take a break here at X106 and KNWT on Weekend Sports Kickoff. We'll come back with a D2 playoff picture. Hi, Sean, over there. We'll just wave at Sean real quick. And we'll be back.
So far away.
You are so far away. We'll be back with more here on the Weekend Sports Kickoff. Welcome back into the Weekend Sports Kickoff. We're going to be TV only from here as we have a live event over with St. Jude's. So just TV right now. So hope everybody enjoys us here on KNWT. I'm Devin Albertson, joined by Trevor Mader, Max Moore, Sean Eno over in Studio B. How you doing, Sean?
Pretty good.
Good deal. Good to hear. We just talked about the other sports at Northwest Missouri State with the volleyball game tonight at 6 p.m. with Sean and Jacob on the call. The women's team, they fell to Ouachita Baptist 54-68, and then the Northwest men's basketball team, they won 89-65 over Upper Iowa. Justin Pitts dropped 30 points. Endow dropped 20 as the Bearcats improved to 1-0 on the year. But now it's time for the D2 playoff picture here, and we talked about it a little bit last week, and a lot more clarity coming in this week in the regional rankings. Fort Hays at number 1, Indianapolis 2, Ashland 3, Ferris State at 4, Baptist at 5, Northwest at 6, Arkansas Tech at 7, Harding at 8, Grand Valley at 9, and Central Missouri at 10 in the regional rankings. So should be interesting games going this weekend. Teams trying to clinch a playoff spot. I think Fort Hays, Indy, Ashland, Ferris are all pretty much locked into the playoffs.
Yeah, what would you say is the scenario that Northwest moves up any? I know obviously they probably won't move up any further than maybe a notch or two, but what would it take?
It would take Ashland or Ferris losing and Baptist losing. At this point, they need a lot of help. And those teams aren't losing. Two teams are playing this week. So
it looks like we alluded to in the last segment, that the Bearcats will most likely go to Ashland, Ohio. Is it Ohio?
Yep.
I believe.
Ohio.
Ashland, Ohio next week.
Because Ashland play a bad Saginaw Valley team, and Ferris State, they play an average Michigan Tech team. So they're both going to win most likely this week. Grand Valley has a game versus Tiffin, who has 4 losses, but they've been solid all year for the GLIAC. So Northwest needs a win versus Missouri Western to secure a playoff spot.
Yeah, I mean that's huge, and I'm guessing it'll happen. But what would the world come to if the Bearcats don't make the playoffs? But what would it be like around here Sunday or Monday?
Quiet.
That'd be weird. I don't know. I haven't experienced that. Obviously,
most people haven't. It's been early 2000s, I believe.
It's been a while since they've made the playoffs, yeah.
Well, and I think it's just one of those things where I think they still do. I think we all believe they still will.
Yes.
And even if they do lose, they'd still probably get in.
It'd be a chance.
They'd still probably it's one of those things where you don't necessarily think. It's almost like, why do we even, as a fan's perspective, anytime I've seen teams back into the playoffs, they never do well. They're never successful. But I don't know. That'd be weird. It'd
be the first time since 2003 that they missed the playoffs. Also, they had 3 losses that year, 8-3. They were they were an MIAA champion that year. The MIAA beat up on each other that season, but Northwest did miss the playoffs that year. But I think they're going to win coming here on Saturday and secure a spot. If you look at the other teams in the region right now, Ouachita Baptist, they have a tough game versus Henderson State. That's a big rivalry game. They're Battle of the Ravine. Those two schools, their football stadiums are literally 1,800 feet away from each other. Like,
yeah, you can see from one press box to the other.
Yeah, I think so.
Like that.
And they literally just go to their own locker rooms, their own stadium, and the visiting team walks across a little bit of grass and across the highway to the other stadium.
Which 2 schools?
It's Ouachita Baptist and Henderson State.
Wow, that's
Arkadelphia, Arkansas.
Wow.
So I don't get that. How can you have 2 universities? Granted, we have Northwest and Mo West that are very
that's
close.
45-minute.
Right, that's 45 minutes, and let's be honest, Missouri Western's practically a junior college, but
Shots
like
fired.
1,800 feet. That's wild. How can you have? It's like, I don't even know. They must have like completely different programs.
I'm pretty sure Baptist is a private school and Henderson's a public university, which is probably the big difference between the two.
Well, see, in northern Iowa, there's a town way up in northern Iowa. Sean went through this town on our adventure a couple weeks ago. Population of about 1,500 people, and they have 2 private schools, 2 private high schools within a 1-mile radius of each other. I don't know why.
It's just crazy. Because
another thing that's like weird is D2 is Sioux Falls. You got Sioux Falls University, then Augustana, both in Sioux Falls. They're about a 10-minute drive from each other, about 4 or 5 miles in town, away from each other. But I have a picture here on my computer. You can't see on TV right now, but it's literally 1,848 feet between midfields of each team.
Isn't there another school in Sioux Falls as well? I'd like to think there's another smaller school, maybe.
I feel like
I don't think it's D2,
right.
but I think this might be a D3 school.
Right. I think there's another school in Sioux Falls because when my dad and I went up there for the basketball tournament, we noticed all the schools that were up there were like Augustana, you have Sioux Falls, and I think there's maybe an NAIA school or something like
Possibly.
that. Yeah,
I'm not sure.
Trevor's looking it up, so.
Sioux Falls is straight from Wikipedia. Sioux Falls is home to the University of Sioux Falls, Augustana University, Sioux Falls Seminary, Killian Community College, Southeast Technical Institute, National American University, the South Dakota School for the Deaf, the Globe University, Minnesota School of Business, and the University of South Dakota School of Medicine. So it might have been National American University, I believe. It's a private school.
That's still a lot of schools for...
Sioux Falls is a decent sized town, though.
It's a decent sized city. You know what I noticed? I think more places than they have schools are more little casinos. They have more video
population of 150,000.
They have more video casinos in that town than I've ever seen.
And I will say, because I know from personal experience, they have a really good Ruby Tuesdays and a really good IHOP.
Anyways, Wichita Baptist versus Henderson State. It's a road game for Henderson State technically, so they have a 30-game road winning streak, which is impressive at any level to win 30 straight road games, and we'll see what happens there. But Northwest, if they lose, Northwest jumps to the 5 seed and probably play Ferris State. But if you look at the 2 seed, UND, they have a tough matchup at home versus Notre Dame College, who's 8-2 out of the MEC. So we'll see how those two teams match up. And then as well, the 7-8 matchup between Arkansas Tech and Harding, the Wonder Boys versus the Bisons. Should be interesting to see how that goes there. 8-2 Arkansas Tech, 7-3 Harding. I think Harding wins that game with that triple option. I don't think Tech can stop it. I think Harding actually wins that game and gets into the playoffs that way. But as Max said earlier, and Trevor said, if Northwest loses and somehow Northwest and Grand Valley both miss on the playoffs, if those two blue bloods don't make the playoffs, I'm not sure what D2 is going to do in the playoffs, because it's one of those things. Those two teams are definitely blue bloods in Division II. If they both miss the playoffs, that's not something they really want there for that. But I think at least one of them will make it here so far going forward. So, and if you look at Grand Valley, their 3 losses are combined 11 points to UND, who's number 2 in the region, Ashland, who's number 3, and Ferris State, who's number 4. So they've been some close losses in those 3 games to those 3 schools. So Grand Valley's still a solid school. If they can sneak in on that 7 seed maybe with Baptist losing and Harding winning or something like that, they might be able to jump up enough to get that 7 seed and make the playoffs. So we'll see what happens going forward. Anything else you guys want to mention with the playoff picture here for Super Region number 3? I know last week there was a lot more hypotheticals, but this week it's kind of crystallized itself a bit, and you can kind of see the roads to the playoffs.
No, but talking food made me really hungry.
Jeez. We're going to take a break and try to get some stuff figured out here in the studio. When we come back, we'll talk some college football, make our picks in those games coming up. A lot of top 25 matchups this week in college football. So we'll be back next here on the Weekend Sports Kickoff.